Well, good morning, Business 20 students. This is our 5th week in our 8-week class here at Norco College on business mathematics. And as you know, that means we're at the halfway point as of the end of last week. So now we're working towards the downhill of the middle of the course, and we're heading quickly towards the end. So we only have a few more weeks after this. This week, you're going to be looking at two chapters, Chapter 12 and Chapter 14. Chapter 12 is very much like Chapter 11. The only difference is now you're dealing with annuities versus compound interest. But annuities are very much like a compound interest problem. The only difference is an annuity means a series of payments. So rather than depositing a fixed sum and then wondering what it's worth in the future, or whether you want a certain amount in the future, how much do I need to deposit today? That's compound interest. Annuities are payments. So if I put in $1,000 every month for the next 6 years at these interest rate, what will I have in 6 years, etc. So same thing. I need $25,000 in 5 years. How much if I put something away every month when I need to put away in order to have with interest that amount in 6 years? That would be a present value of an annuity. So the same idea, but now you're dealing with an annuity, which simply means series of payments. But that does mean you're using different tables. Everything else is the same for the most part, but you're doing different tables. And when it comes to an annuity due, which is a little bit different, it's the series of payments that start at the beginning of a period rather than the end. You do need to change the table value and the number of times that it compounds, and that's a little tricky. So make sure you read through chapter 12, most notably noting that you do need to sometimes, when you're doing an annuity due, it's different from an ordinary annuity, that you do need to make changes to your table factors and to your number of times compounded. So that's the only difference. Other than that, you're using the tables exactly like you did for chapter 11. Chapter 14 is a completely different topic, that is mortgages, and you're basically going to be using a amortization table, which basically is, you have how much the interest rate is and how many years your loan is, and you marry those two together, and that tells you a table factor that you multiply by your principal amount that you're going to be borrowing divided by 1,000, and that's going to give you your monthly payment with interest for that particular mortgage loan. And so it deals predominantly with mortgages. It's really actually a very exciting chapter because you get to see, if I borrow, if I buy a $600,000 home at 8% interest, how much am I going to pay for it after 30 years? And your jaw will drop when you realize how much you actually paid for that home that was $600,000. Now you end up paying 2 million for it, because that's how, making all those payments and all that interest, that's what you ended up paying. So it's kind of staggering, but very important for you to see. It might make you think differently about purchasing a house or how you might want to do that. But that's what we'll be covering in these two chapters. So let's go take a look in Canvas real quick. And here we are in the home page in Canvas. We're in module number 3 starting today. And here we have our study module for this week. So you have a README first, once again, and a Help Sienna dealing with these topics. So make sure you review those and you mark them both as done. You have 2 study pages as well, one on annuities and one on mortgages. So I've worked through all of the annuities ones. I would work through all of the mortgage ones. You might want to also download your check-in assignment worksheet. So that way, as you're working through annuities, you can solve those problems. And then when you work through mortgages, you can solve those problems. Then you can do the check-in assignment. That is going to the check-in assignment with your worksheet already completed, and then using the drop-down menus to select the answers that you got. And then you have a quiz on those 2 chapters, and then you have your third case study. Now, this one kind of deals with both chapter 11 and chapter 12. So it focuses on some compound interest, because inflation is causing there to be, obviously interest. It's causing there to be higher inflation. And so that's going to mean things are going to change. If you need $5,000 in the future, it's not going to be the same as $5,000 today, right? Because of inflation. So you have to figure in inflation using compound interest, and then you need to figure out a sinking fund, which is something you'll learn about in chapter 12. And it's basically, I need this amount of money, kind of a present value thing. So how can I how much money do I need to put away in order to get that? And it's called the sinking fund. So it's looking at it a little bit differently, and it's also using a different formula that'll allow you to know how much of a payment you need to make in order to have what you need, etc. So it's really pretty fascinating. So that's how you solve it. So it's going to be those two pieces coming together in order to solve that particular case study for module number 3. All right, so that's pretty much it. If you're confused by any of that or you need some help, please don't hesitate to reach out to me during my office hours. I'm changing my office hour from Monday. I'm not going to be there at all on Monday now. I'm going to be there on Tuesday afternoon at 4 o'clock on campus at Norco. I'm there on Wednesday morning at Norco College campus, and then I'm online in Zoom on Thursdays from 2 to 4 p.m. So you can join me in any of those. My office hours link is on the homepage in Canvas. And you can also set up another time if those don't work for you, where maybe we can meet in Zoom, and there's a link for you to be able to do that there as well. So have a great week, and you will see me again on video next week. Until then.